Hi, welcome. Gigela here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about paper. I've done other video before about the importance of good watercolor paper. This is my personal favorite watercolor paper from the brand Hahnemuhle. It is a 140-pound paper that is 100% cotton, and it is cold pressed. And I really love this brand. It stays wet for a very long time. It has a nice texture without being too textured. And it is pretty water absorbent. So I thought I would try something new that I saw from Hahnemuhle. I do love 100% cotton paper, but I'm trying to find something a little more affordable and maybe a little more sustainable. So I tried out, or I'm going to try out, I haven't tried it yet, this sugarcane paper from Hahnemuhle. It is 135 pounds, so it's a similar thickness to my favorite paper, and it is naturally white, cold pressed, and it says it is suitable for all kinds of watercolor technique. This one is 70% sugarcane and 30% cotton rag, so I'm interested to see if this holds up as well as their other paper. Sugarcane is a little bit more abundant here in the south of the US. It's also a little bit more of a sustainable farming practice. So let's see how this natural line works. I believe they also have bamboo paper, agave, and hemp paper, which I'm interested to try out all of them. I do like that they come in these little tester sizes as well, so you can purchase a small size without committing to the whole big one. Now, just looking at the paper as I very forcefully rip it off, one side is very textured. I don't know if you can see it well on the camera, but it is almost more like a rough texture. And then the other side is more similar to what I would expect from a cold press. So I'm going to try painting on the back of the paper versus this extremely rough side, just personal preference. And we're going to try just doing a little test painting with it. Let me see if I have any masking tape to tape this down. And I'll show you the photo that we're going to use as a reference for our little mini painting today. So we're going to be using my Daniel Smith palette today, my ceramic palette with just some colors already in here. We might use some of these, we might wipe some of them clean. I have some water jars, some paintbrushes. These are some of my favorites. I'll probably stick with the smaller ones for today since we're working with a smaller size painting. And this is completely experimental. I have not even tested this paper yet. We're just gonna live test out how it works. And the photo we're gonna use is this one from Unsplash. I think I'm not going to paint the person, just use kind of this wave sky with like grass. It's a very simple, I wanted something simple to test out this paper. And let's go ahead and try first just wetting our paper and seeing how it feels once we wet it. Probably could have used a slightly bigger brush just for wetting my paper. I'm interested to see how it's absorbing. It seems so far that it's behaving a lot like I would expect from 100% cotton paper. We'll zoom in just a little bit so hopefully you can get a better look. It looks like just putting, this on so far, it is behaving as expected for cotton paper. So we'll see if there's any other noticeable differences with the sugarcane paper. My blue that I have already on my palette is a little bit bright, so I'm going to tone that down a little bit, maybe add a tiny bit of Payne's Gray, just so I get a little bit more of that like stormier blue. And we're just going to drop a little bit of that in our sky. Now I do like to work wet on wet, which is one of the main reasons why I usually use 100% cotton paper. 100% cotton is usually the best for more wet on wet techniques, but this paper so far seems pretty similar to my cotton paper. Let's go with a little bit of the more bright blue. And then we'll mix up a nice little peachy color for kind of the bottom. I feel like I'm going a little bit too far down with my sky. I'm just gonna try lifting. My cloth here is a little dirty, but that's all right. I tried to stop using disposable paper towels, and we're just going to blend in the bits that kind of came off of my cloth. There's a little bit of green apparently on there. So that lifted quite nicely as well. Now I'm gonna go with a little bit of a peachy color for that bottom of the sky. Just mixing some of the colors already here on my palette. I believe this is New Gamboge and this is Quinacridone Rose. And that's just gonna be, it needs a little bit more pink. And our proportions are going to be a little bit different than that reference photo. My sky kind of took over. I like painting skies, and that's okay. Reference photo is just for ideas. And I'm going to try adding just a tiny bit more pink to that. Just seeing how my paint moves on the paper. It does kind of seem like in the middle here, the paper is kind of bunching up, maybe getting like a little bit waterlogged. And I use just the edge of this cloth to maybe carve out a couple more cloud shapes. All right, now let's try adding in some, this might need to dry a little bit before we add in our ocean. I'm going to go ahead and mix up some color for the ocean. I'm going to do a little bit of the Payne's Gray mixed with some French Ultramarine. Getting that nice stormy ocean blue. And I'm worried this might bleed up a little right there at the edge, so we're gonna maybe be careful on the edge, not go quite as high up. Because this paper does seem to be staying wet for a while. I feel like the colors are coming out very light on it, even though I painted or I got pretty vibrant colors. I feel like it's really soaking up a lot of water, a lot of paint. Might have to go back over multiple layers. So we'll try that to start. And I'm looking at this and it looks like the grass is kind of like a deep brownish green. I'm going to try a couple of the newer colors I got. I did just pick up Lunar Earth. Let's see if I can just darken this green I already have in here. It's kind of a drab green that I made. Kind of goes with the moodiness. I might try to just darken this a little bit. Let's add a little bit more green to it. I'm going to add some green apatite. And there we have kind of a nice moody dark green. It looks like my paper is pretty dry on the bottom. I am going to go in with just a little bit of pure lunar earth here. Ooh, that lunar earth really kind of spread a lot. That'll be our grass. So just from what I'm seeing so far, I do feel like this paper, the sky looks really nice because I didn't overwork it, but I feel like this middle part, it kind of pilled. It's almost like the paper kind of was overworked very easily. We'll let that bottom part dry. Maybe we'll add in some ocean water details. I'm going to kind of add in just some kind of like wave marks. Maybe darken my horizon line a little bit. Apparently at the angle I have this paper, I'm not very good at drawing a straight line. My paper is also kind of like bowing up quite a bit. I don't know if you can see, but it has like ballooned up a little. And let's maybe just add in some of the French ultramarine. Kind of some spots of that blue. I want to paint more grass detail. I feel like I need to wait for this to dry. So we're gonna wait for this to dry a little bit, and then we will finish up our foreground. Overall, I'm gonna go for kind of a yellowy, add some yellow to my lunar earth here, some new gamboge mixed with that. And we're just gonna kind of look back at our picture that we're using as inspiration. And it just has some grasses kind of in the foreground here. We'll kind of add that in. Maybe we'll add in some kind of dark green. I do like undersea green as well, for a nice dark green that has a little bit of granulation. Trying to go for some dark colors here so that we can see our grasses amongst the other stuff that we painted. Paint is quite thick. Whew, that's kind of a blob. Let's try kind of blending the edge of that clump. And let's get an intermediate shade by mixing our two colors. So here's our finished piece. Overall, I like this paper a lot. The paper is still quite wet, so it does stay wet for quite a long time if that is important for your wet on wet techniques. Just gonna fiddle with that just a sec. There we go. And I feel like overall it held up pretty good with my wet on wet techniques. I like the way my stormy sky looks. I like the way the clouds were able to lift out pretty easily. It did get a little bit muddy in the middle, like the paper kind of, like the texture of it balled up a little bit, so I would be careful not to overwork with this paper. But overall, here is our finished little ocean stormy scene using Hahnemuhle Sugar Cane paper. Thanks for watching.